Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna send you that link, Lindsay, and then send it to Chev. I guess our speakers, if you will. But I think I can pull people in anyway, right? So
yeah, when they log on, you can move them from backstage and like bring them to the stage. So you don't have to bring them all at once. You just bring one at a time.
okay.
Yeah. So okay. So Aaron has it. He's a Chev, Jayden.
Oh, I'm not talking yet. Let me hang up, Lindsay.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me now, Alvin? Okay. The great 08. Girl dad in the house. I can hear you. Absolutely. I just checked for a missing I got a loose tooth, so we're on tooth fairy watch. All right, Omari, good to see you. Good to see you. We're going to get started in a few minutes. And for those of you that came back from the first call, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, man. That first call was a lot. So, but I'm glad we're back. This is important. This is important for everybody that's coming in. And, I see we got 25 folks on. We had 50, I think 58 registrations, which is fantastic. Thank you for being on. Yeah, I got PTSD from that first one too. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I was like in the sunken place from that first call. Yeah. Lord have mercy. Are our cameras on? Okay, so no, I can't see you, Senator, but what I'm gonna do, what I want to do though, Senator Geller, I'm gonna bring you backstage so that when I'm gonna, I know that you'll want to say something, and I would love to give you that opportunity. So Senator Geller, I'll let you know when I'm gonna bring you on. We're doing StreamYard. So StreamYard's a little different. It's almost like a webinar format because I wanted to obviously avoid what happened the last time. We did try to work with Zoom, but I wanted to make sure we didn't let too much time go by and not have this call. So I just picked the next best option that I could, and StreamYard is actually a really good program. So Senator Geller, I'm gonna bring you. I'll bring you backstage when we'll get you in. We got former Miami Commissioner Ken Russell on, the skateboarding guru. This guy has a phenomenal TikTok. If you haven't seen it, follow Ken Russell on TikTok. I think he once made a skateboard to look like the Nimbus cloud from Dragon Ball. So, all right, we got Raymond Adderley on. Go Owls. All right. All right, we're at 31. We'll get started in a second. Just want to make sure we get our folks in. Hey, Aaron. I'm Aaron. I'm going to go ahead and... So for those of you that are jumping on or watching, if you weren't a part of the first call, which hopefully you weren't, but if you were a part of the first call, the purpose of Florida Men for Kamala Harris in this day and age is, one, to support the Vice President of the United States as she embarks on her candidacy to assume the mantle of President of the United States of America. But also the reason why I wanted us to do an all-men Florida call is because we have unique issues here in Florida that we need to focus on and that we need to that we need to organize and be on the same page with. We have the Reproductive Rights ballot amendment is on there, right? We have the adult use cannabis ballot amendment is on there as well. But also, more importantly, as Democrats, every single state house and state Senate seat is contested. So if we can take this enthusiasm surrounding and what the vice president has injected into our party and into just the general voting populace, I think we can make some surprising gains. Representative Tom King, thank you. You're a part of that wave. You're a part of the wave to turn the tide in our state house. So the goal of this is to organize, come together, talk, but also make sure that we have a few initiatives, action items, and things. Nothing too heavy of a lift, but I've always envisioned us doing things together throughout the state at the same time. And for my elected officials that are on the call, I know how important it is for you also to be seen by the people that voted you in office. And so everything that I present or that we come up with or that we can come up with is also to show people that you are out there with them. It's not you just playing a back seat, but you being out there in the forefront as well. You are the leader for the folks that voted for you, right? So me as a commissioner in the city of Coral Springs, I want to be out front. I want to make myself as big of a target as I can to make sure people see strength when they see a Democrat, to make sure they see strength when they see a man that is a Democrat. I think you had, Fox News is spiraling right now. It's actually become, they might be able to challenge Saturday Night Live for a comedy show right now, where you had, I think, the host Jesse Waters say that if you vote for Kamala Harris, you're not a man, or you transition into a woman or something like that. So something ridiculous like that. I mean, we can even go into, I can tell you about the time I turned black. I think it was that first time when I woke up one Saturday morning. I was like 9 years old, and I woke up to the sounds of something like a man singing. And then, I go upstairs because in St. Louis we have stairs, and I had a room in the basement. And it was I think Otis Redding was playing on the speakers. And then next thing you know, my mom gave me a mop, and then I started mopping and sweeping the house. And while she was cooking, soul food, and I was like, oh, I think I might be black. So that's when I turned black. For anyone that was curious. But this call is really for us to come together. I've been a part of Florida politics since 2015, and I've never been a part of an all-male call. And that's what we want to do. So I know for the folks that are going to be speakers tonight, and this is not going to be a call where you're just getting spoken to death. I do have an action item at the end, kind of at the end that we're going to kick out. But I want to make sure, we all come together. So this is the Josh Simmons stuff. Senator Geller, I love a mic. I love a mic. But for anyone that hasn't had an opportunity to donate to the Kamala Harris campaign, there is a link that has been posted in the chat. Lindsay Pollard, who's been incredible in helping me pull all of this together, is posted in the chat. And I'm very appreciative of Lindsay for her efforts in helping me with this because, as much as I loved and respected President Biden, most of you know that I was an OGK Hive from 2019. So when the news dropped, I think I could barely function. So Lindsay's been helping guide this energy and enthusiasm in the right direction. So if you haven't had the opportunity to donate to Vice President Harris, think for my folks that watch Dragon Ball Z, again, shout out to Miami Commissioner Ken Russell. Think of it like a spirit bomb. You give your coins and it goes up to the big ball that's going to go take out Frieza Trump. All right. So make sure you donate there. And so we're going to have our first speaker very shortly. As soon as I see that he is. All right. I'll move to the studio. So yeah, this is not going to be one of those things. In each call that we have, it's not going to be one of those like talking you to death things. But again, the purpose of this call, for those of you that have that are just jumping on, the purpose of this call is to not only support Vice President Kamala Harris, but also focus on the important and critical issues we have here in Florida. For too long, the Republican leadership has dominated Florida. They could care less about what's happening throughout Florida because they have the power and they don't feel like they're being challenged. If you felt what's been going on over the last 11 days, they're scared. There's a lot of energy. And the one thing that our Republican leadership in Florida has always counted on is people not coming out to vote. And right now, people are geared up and ready to vote. And we are going to help make sure we squeeze every drop of Democratic vote we can out of every single county in this state. All right. I understand the politics of our state, and people can say, oh, the registration advantage. Republicans have been in control of this state for 20 years, and they didn't always have the Republican advantage. So that's not something that we're going to use as an example. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure we talk to everybody, and we're going to meet them with positivity. We don't need to shame folks. What we need to do right now is invite people in. All right. Our politics, our discourse has been consumed by negativity since 2016. We need to give people something different. People are hungry for something different. That's why we are seeing this energy and we're seeing this excitement. So I talked about one of our most critical Florida issues, which is Amendment number 3, the Reproductive Rights Amendment to the Florida Constitution. And I want to tee up the next guest, Aaron Bos-Lun, who's going to speak a little bit from Men of Choice about this ballot initiative and what it is that we can do to be more helpful. If you don't believe that reproductive rights is not a man issue, it is. All right. This is important for all of us. All right. So, Aaron, I'm going to go ahead and bring you onto the stage. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. It's great to be here. Thank you for organizing. Thank you for your leadership. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
I say, oh, can't hear you. Hold on. Let's see. Nope.
Is that better? You're good now?
What about now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Well, you know, like I said in the chat, a couple years ago, they called us a dead carcass on the side of the road, and now they feel the need to mess with our stuff to stop the energy that we have. So thank you for your leadership, Commissioner Simmons, and getting everyone together. And like you said, you know, the question about, you know, men and reproductive rights, it is something that we all have a stake in, but there's a more basic thing at play here, which is that when we think about the issue of choice, men are very active on the issue of choice. It's just unfortunately only the anti-choice men. You go to any reproductive freedom rally, protest, and you're going to see on the pro-choice side, it's going to be 90% women, and on the anti-choice side, it's going to be 90% men. And it raises the question of, well, why are they so concerned with this? Why does Ron DeSantis, why does Rick Scott have this instinct to so badly want to take women's rights away? What is the real vision here? Because we know they're not actually concerned with you know, the life of children. They're against prenatal care. They're completely unconcerned with the rates of maternal mortality, especially for Black women. They're not in support of universal pre-K. Go down the line. We know this isn't about health. We know it isn't about life. It's about freedom, and it's about power, and it's about control. And so it's on all of us as we think about this moment, and especially with the opportunity to elect Vice President Harris as the President of the United States, that we do our part, that we show up. It is so crucial that men are not sitting this one out. And Commissioner Simmons, you've been setting the standard for a while in this and in so many other ways, but not enough men have. And what we need to do is make sure that we provide an example that isn't this weird, creepy Ron DeSantis, Rick Scott desire to get between women and their doctors. In what world is any person better off when Ron DeSantis is getting involved in their medical decisions? Like, I can't say for sure, but I'm virtually certain in the history of the state of Florida, no woman has ever been sitting in a private medical room and started thinking while she's making a decision about what to do with her health and her future, I really wonder what the men of the Florida legislature think about this. It's not a thing that happens. And last year in the United States, including here in Florida, there were about 1,600 votes taken to ban or criminalize abortion in some way. And 86% of those votes were taken by men to take away a right that they themselves will never experience, will never need to exercise, and have never really thought about and don't know anything about. And so it's on the rest of us when we think about what is within our control to spread awareness about Amendment 4. You know, the majority of Floridians don't really realize what's at stake here. I was meeting with some DC people the other day, and they were looking at polling that showed 47% of independent women in the state of Florida don't know whether to trust Democrats or Republicans more on reproductive freedom. And so we know that everyone in this call understands that, but don't underestimate just how important it is to reach those people in your own spheres of influence, and especially to stand behind and stand with women leaders. We need to do that up and down the ballot. We especially need to be mobilizing for Vice President Harris. And I want to give a shout out to all of our Men for Choice fellows who are here. We can't see because of the studio thing, but Temi and Matthew and Vihan and Adrian and Noah, and you're going to hear from Jayden and Omari later, who are Men for Choice fellows, who are young men who have made the decision to get off the sidelines and into the fight. And it's on each of us to look for ways to do that. So I'm so proud to be here with all of you. It is time to call bullshit on men who are trying to control women's bodies and restrict the rights of everyone to live their full lives. And once again, applaud you for your leadership, Commissioner Simmons. Proud to stand with you tonight and excited to do our part to elect Kamala Harris President of the United States.
Thank you, Aaron, and I appreciate that. And we do need to call bullshit on that. And if I can ask you, I know you listed some of the Men for Choice members, but what are some ways, and if you can maybe drop something in the chat or have one of your team associates drop something in the chat, but like what are some of the action items that you all do, or what is it that you do to help promote the passage of reproductive rights here in Florida?
Yeah. So we spend about 75% of our time as an organization base building. And so we do educational programs, and we're meeting people where they are. So we run a youth fellowship program that engages young men for 10 weeks to learn about the issue and to organize peer-to-peer conversations with their friends about the state of reproductive freedom. If you're a guy, and I'm just, we're all men on this call, like, when's the last time a male friend of yours invited you to a conversation to talk with other men about what we can do as men for reproductive freedom? It's different. And so through that, people sort of build a baseline awareness. We build a base of thousands of people who have been warmed up, that then when it comes to elections, we mobilize. So in a couple of weeks, we're going to shut down everything in the organization except for our mobilization. And we work with our pro-choice partners. So we're going to be working with Yes on 4. We're going to be working with the Harris campaign. Vice President Harris is actually, in the history of Men for Choice, 10 years, we've never endorsed a candidate because we're an allyship organization. We support our partners. We support Planned Parenthood. We get men to show up to what women are already leading. But because of the enormous significance of this election and the extraordinary circumstances of Vice President Harris's candidacy, we have endorsed her through Men for Choice advocacy. So we'll be mobilizing for her. And what we do is all of our guys who have been trained as organizers, we then hire an election team that is staffed entirely by guys who have gone through our training program. And all we do is mobilize where the pro-choice partners, which will include the Harris campaign, say men are most needed, and we get guys to show up.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate that. All right. So everybody listen, reproductive rights is like the #1 voter issue right now. You take a look at some of the most red states in America and that had either restricting abortions or outright banning abortions, and those amendments failed. So this is an issue that is something you should get behind because it is driving people, especially women, right, to the polls, right? So that's important for us to be a part of that and have a role in that and be transparent in it, but also be aggressive about it, right? This is important. If you have daughters, and I have 2, I don't want these people telling them what my daughters can do with themselves, especially when I teach them to have their own autonomy, right? So again, this is the Florida Men for Kamala Harris call. This is the first of many. We're not gonna like meet to death. But this is the first we're going to do this. And I hope and I pray that this is something that we can continue post-election, because even though the presidential election will be over here in Florida, there is so much work that we need to do that I want us to regularly have conversations to make sure we're all on one accord and working together and picking each other's brains and organizing together. But yeah, Vice President Kamala Harris, if you don't know about this incredible woman, let me tell you, right? Former DA out of San Francisco, then became an attorney general of the largest state in the union, then became a United States senator. And throughout her entire career, she has put the people first. Even in 2019, her campaign slogan was Kamala Harris for the people, right? This is someone who is a leader, and I saw that plain and clear back in 2019. And if I can just tell you quickly, I originally, back in 2019, I wasn't going to endorse anyone in the presidential primary, only because it was going to be so many people, and I just thought, let me just stay out of it. And then I remember I was visiting my mom in Jacksonville, and I was flying back home down here, and I sat in the airport, and CNN streamed her announcement in Oakland, California. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what I saw when I saw her standing at that podium, but I saw someone that looked like someone I could get behind. I saw a leader. I saw someone that understood what it took to be a leader of this nation. And the fates of the universe have put her in this position to become the leader of our nation. And I want to do everything I can to help get her elected. But I also know that she brings something new. She brings something exciting. She has charged up our electorate. All right. And so even Republicans, look, you have Republican border mayors, right, in the Southwest endorsing Kamala Harris for president. That lets you know where we're at. And for all my folks on the call, if you know the history of our country and the history of what's happened to Black women here in America, to have a Black woman running for president to defend our democracy, you couldn't write a better story. You could not write a better story. So what we're going to do is focus. We're going to organize. We're going to get things together. But what I want to do is bring on someone that might have had a different feeling or felt something different with the young voters here in America, that maybe they weren't really all jazzed up. They were going to do their duty. Then there's a difference between doing your duty and being excited to do your duty. So I'm going to bring up Jayden, who's going to talk a little bit about what he's seeing and what he's feeling from our young voters, who I think will be the reason why we will call Vice President Kamala Harris President Harris come this November. All right, Jayden, you're up.
Yeah, hey, y'all. First off, thank you, Commissioner, for organizing this. I think this is awesome. My name is Jayden D'Onofrio. I'm the chairman of the Florida Future Leaders PAC, which funds the Florida High School Democrats and the Florida College Democrats and does much of the youth organizing in the state. I got to say, I think we're pretty fucking fired up. I don't know if I can curse like that. I got to say it like that, though, because that's the truth.
Hey, do your thing. Do your thing. Speak.
I mean, I have never seen as much energy as I'm seeing like this past month, basically. That complete flip from those 2 to 3 weeks that were absolutely the lowest of the low to now being at the highest of the high. I have friends telling me that this is our moment. This is like our Obama moment, of which we didn't even live through Obama. Okay. And so this is what it's almost not even a moment anymore. It's almost feeling like a movement. I have friends that are completely non-political reaching out to me, asking how they can get involved, how they can check their voter registration status. One of the things I'll bring up that was completely, it shows the motivation of youth right now, was that in the day that followed Vice President Harris's, basically coronation to become our nominee, vote.org saw a 700% spike in voter registration. And much of it was from those that are under the age of 34 across the country. And so Florida was one of the critical pieces to that, amazingly. So we're seeing real energy on the ground here in Florida, but also just across the country, because I think it's not necessarily any more of like a Biden versus Trump showdown anymore. There's like an actual candidate that youth really, really believe in Vice President Harris. So I think we're really excited. I know our mobilization is going to go great in the fall. And I think, the sort of enthusiasm and energy I'm seeing right now is something I've never seen before. And I have no doubt it's going to continue through November. And all of us on this call, it's up to us to make sure that motivation stays there. I think if you're on this call, you're probably some sort of form of leader in your community that can make a difference. And so I think it starts with conversations and just letting those around you know how important this election is, especially for youth. This is a make or break for youth. I don't think we want to go back to the days that we've grown up through, which is the days of Donald Trump being president. So we have to keep pushing forward. Let's keep the motivation going, and let's not let up. This is the time that we keep pushing. Let's not let up. Thank you again, Commissioner.
Hey, no problem, Jayden, and thank you for being here, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's not easy. There's a lot more that you could be focused on right now at your age, right? And I'm not saying at your age, I'm not ageist, but I wish I could be your age again. I had hair too at some point. But what are some things that you are seeing though? Like just specifically, like what are some things that you're seeing that's telling you, like, man, this feels different? What are you seeing?
Yeah. I mean, first off, when you get random texts from friends that generally don't care about politics asking how they can get involved, I think that's a complete, illustration of where we're at right now. And I've gotten numbers of those. And so when we're seeing a constant sort of outreach through youth from the campaign, as we're seeing right now, I think that's a totally different ballgame too. The first perfect example of the sort of youth engagement that we're seeing with the campaign was literally the day that, I don't know if anyone saw this, Charlie XCX is a pretty famous musician amongst youth. And she tweeted out, "Kamala is brat." I personally did not even know what this means, but it was something that basically meant that Vice President Kamala Harris is the person. She is the dude. She is the absolute legend of this race. And so that went instantly viral. I mean, the amount of pure resonating you saw with youth across the country because of that is like a totally different ballgame. And then if you just compare it to on the ground, the conversations that we're having doing voter registration, the conversations we're having when we're doing text banking and phone banking, is a completely different ballgame than what we had before. So we just have to keep using that and keep motivating off of that. We have a young candidate going against now the oldest nominee in American history, in Donald Trump. The script is completely flipped. Donald Trump is too old, first off. And second off, he's too divisive and doesn't resonate with youth on policies. So as long as we keep bringing that to the youth, I think the youth are going to turn out on that issue and make sure that Vice President Harris is our next president.
All right. Thank you, Jayden, man. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And I look forward to seeing you out there because we got a lot of work to do. So if you need me to come speak to some schools, let me know because I love a mic. Lindsay hates that, but I love a mic. So
hell yeah,
let me come.
We'll do.
All right. Thank you, Jayden. All right. So next, I'm going to throw it to an esteemed state senator. And if you ever need someone to be real with you and not hold their tongue at all, but always tell it like it is, but it comes from such a great place, such a great heart, a true blue Democrat, someone that has been in every fight in the state of Florida. This is the guy you want to talk to. So Senator Steve Geller, I'm going to bring you up and tell us a little bit, like just what's important to you, what you want to see here in Broward, and not here in Broward, but here in Broward, Florida, all across the nation. Just give us your experience and your insight.
Thank you, Josh. And first, Jayden, good job. When I think of young people, I'm thinking of people like Josh. I mean, Josh, you are just doing a great job. I've been working with you for years and get more and more impressed. I have been either a state rep, state senator, mayor of Broward, or county commissioner in the 1980s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now the 2020s. I think I was 4 when I was elected. So I remember my first 8 years in the legislature, the Democrats were still in charge. So I do remember.
Wait a minute, hold on. The Democrats were in charge in Tallahassee
until 1990. We lost the governor's mansion in 98, 96. We lost the legislature in 96, the House. We lost the Senate in 94. I was elected in 88. I was 29 at the time. But it's not as bad as you think when we say, well, the Republicans are in charge now, which they are, but the vote is not as bad just because of the voter suppression. They don't have as many more votes as they claim. They've just knocked some of our people off the early voting rolls, but they can still vote even if you haven't voted in the last 4 years, while they have not knocked their non-voters off. So it's not that bad. I had been telling people, and I remember in 2016 and 18 and 20, keep saying this is the most important election in our lifetime. All of us have used that phrase. I'll change it a little. This may be the last election in your lifetime that matters. In the event that he who must not be named should get elected again, we've all heard him say, we're not going to have to vote anymore. I mean, just vote for him one more time, and then nobody will have to vote again because he'll just stay as president. If you ever listen to Bill Maher, who always said, he's not going. I don't care if he wins or loses, he's not going voluntarily. And that was true. And he is more dangerous than ever now because he knows what the guardrails were and how to avoid them this time. I was at a legislative conference, and on Saturday night, the night before Biden withdrew, I was with 5 other legislators, all Democrats. We were having dinner, and we were all bemoaning what appeared to be our certain fate, saying that Joe Biden, who has been an outstanding president, but should not have been running for re-election. We were all saying how bad it was and how we were going to get killed. And there was a sense of lethargy everywhere. You don't hear that anymore. There is such excitement in the air. My phone has been blowing up. Everything, this is going to be the last chance that we have to keep democracy. And we all have to bust our asses in this election because it is more consequential than any I can think of. Now, Jayden, in terms of the young people, I'll tell you, I spoke to the young Democrats in 2016 and 17. Half of them didn't vote for Hillary because they just couldn't bring themselves to do so. You're not sensing that. I'm sensing the same excitement that you are in young people, although I don't know that many of them. That there really is excitement in the air. But let me just say 2 quick things. Number one, historically, in the last few elections, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach have underperformed the statewide voting average. We can't have that again. I don't know who's on this phone, if it's actually statewide on this call, but the majority of the vote is going for Democratic vote, or at least the plurality is going to be in the Tri-County, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach area. And we cannot underperform again. And let me ask you a question, Josh. There are many of us in Broward, at least, there are 9 county commissioners and 9 of us are Democrats. What is it? And we can talk offline on this, but I think we need to involve our elected officials who know how to turn out votes, because we've been doing it for years, know who the leaders are, and organize. I mean, I represent all of Davie, all of Cooper City, most of Plantation, and parts of 2 other cities. I used to have 4 other cities before reapportionment. I can do an awful lot to help here. I can't do a lot up in Coral Springs. So we really need to get our electeds involved. We can discuss this offline, but whatever we can do, we're there.
Thank you so much, Senator. And I'm glad you asked, because I have thought intensely about what it is that we as elected officials can do in Broward, as well as across the state, but especially in Broward, because that's my home. So you and I definitely will talk. It's not anything difficult. I just think we need to have an elected official town hall. And so we'll talk about that so we can get everybody together and we get into that building. We say, this is what we're doing, not asking people for anything. This is what we're doing on this date, on this date. And that's what we go out and do.
And Josh, one more time, you are an impressive leader and leader for tomorrow.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Senator. We're definitely going to be talking. So I'll see you soon. Thank you. All right, everybody. Before we get to our next guest speaker, I want to make sure you all have seen the donation link for the Kamala Harris Victory Fund. If you have not had an opportunity, whether it's $10, $5, $20, $25, $50, I don't care. Whatever it is, if you got a little something to give, please do so. And please feel free to share that link with folks that want to give or don't, have the link to give. We want to make sure we give everything we can to say that we are being helpful in making sure we get the Kamala Harris elected to President of the United States of America. But also, before I bring this next guest on, we're in Florida. We know what issues we have here, but also think about it. We're like ground zero for like the Republican universe. How good would it feel? Maybe we don't turn the state blue. Maybe we don't turn the state blue, right? But what if we pick off wins here, We get reproductive rights enshrined in the Florida Constitution. We get adult use cannabis, recreational adult use cannabis on the books. Imagine those different things that we know will bother them intensely on the books, but then also know that we're building something that's going to continue to call back power in the state. So there's a lot that we can do, and I want us to be a part of that. So right now, I'm going to bring up a history maker. I'm going to bring up this state attorney who, if you give him long enough, we might go into a sermon. I'm not sure. But the history maker that's coming over here next, he's going to give the perspective of what it's like when, people try to ding Kamala Harris on being a prosecutor, even though I think in this day and age, it's important that she's a prosecutor, especially when the person that she's running against is actually a felon. But I wanted just him to have a little bit of time, speak to us, talk to us. I'm going to bring up State Attorney Harold Pryor to speak to the congregation right now. So, Mr. State Attorney.
How you doing, Commissioner Simmons? How's it going, brother?
All right. I'm doing all right. How you doing? That's a nice job. That's a nice.
I'm doing good.
That's not big enough.
Well, I'm not in the office, so I don't have to wear a shirt and tie. So here you go.
Thank you for joining us tonight. So the floor is yours, my brother.
Hey, look, I won't be long. Thank you so much, Commissioner Simmons, for organizing this. Senator Geller, also our commissioner here in Broward County. It's an honor to serve with him as a leader. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's an institution here in Broward County, so it's amazing when he can be on here. But also not only for Broward County, but throughout the state of Florida. He was able to spit some history to each and every one of us, right? There was a point or time in this state where we were in power, where we ran the legislature. And we have an opportunity to do that. And I truly believe, I'm an optimist. I believe that we can turn it around. It'll be slow, it'll be sure, but we're going to make it happen, and we can do it incrementally. And I think it's a great start here with this election. The reason why I'm here, I want to thank you for inviting me. As you all know, or some of you may or may not know, I'm the elected state attorney in Broward County. I am the chief law enforcement officer in the 17th Judicial Circuit. We're the second largest judicial circuit in the state of Florida, the 16th largest judicial circuit in the entire United States. And so I actually believe that Kamala Harris is the most prepared person I think you could be to run this country and to be at the helm of this country at this point of time. When you look at her background, her track record, she served as the district attorney, the prosecutor, the functional equivalent of what I'm doing now in San Francisco. And then she elevated to attorney general in California and ultimately senator, then vice president. And I hope we'll be able to name her our next president of the United States. And so there's some things going on out there that I want to point out, and I want to help each and every one of you. I'm not on here to give an inspiring speech. I'm not here to rev you all up, to fire everyone up. I'm here to provide you with some information so we can dispel this myth. And we've all heard the myth that Kamala Harris as a district attorney, Kamala Harris as an attorney general for the state of California, she was this mass incarcerator. She was this person that incarcerated mass amount of Black people for low-level criminal offenses for marijuana. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is, in fact, a myth. I'm here to tell you, as someone who's seen as a progressive-minded prosecutor, not only in the state of Florida, but also in the nation, that she was the pioneer to many of the policies that many of us initiate now. She was a pioneer of many of the policies that many progressive prosecutors throughout the United States implement in their respective jurisdictions. And she did it at a time when it wasn't cool. She did it at a time that it really wasn't in vogue, right? People didn't believe in granting people second chances. Many people didn't believe in creating mental health programs, drug court programs, and work and job opportunities. And so I want to provide each and every one of you some information so you can help dispel these myths. Many of you are tastemakers. Many of you are influencers in the political realm. And I want to challenge each and every one of you, and I do it. Look, we all scroll Instagram. We all scroll TikTok. We all scroll Facebook and many of the other social media platforms, or we're all in locker rooms. We're at the gym. We're in the kitchen, the break room at our workplaces, and we hear some of these comments, but we're not equipped with the information to combat or dispel many of these myths. And sometimes many of these myths, they aren't just put out by the Republican Party, they're put out by people within our own party. And so I want to equip each and every one of you with facts, information, data, things that you can share in these conversations to dispel these myths, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. And as one of my favorite poets, one of my favorite rappers, Jay-Z said, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't, right? And so I want to point to some terms and phrases that I want some of you to use when you are confronted or you hear someone put out some misinformation or you might not be sure. And so one of the things that I want you to use, or some of the phrases that I want you to use, is that, you know, Kamala Harris, she took a measured and reasonable approach to crime. And that was true at that time. And that would be true as president of the United States when she's running, or over the Justice Department, when she appoints the attorney general, when she appoints individuals who will be affecting the criminal justice system as a whole in the United States of America. And as I stated earlier, she was ahead of her time before criminal justice reform was generally accepted. Also, she never jeopardized the safety of her community, and she'll prioritize that as the president. Also, Harris prioritized going after serious and violent crimes, right? That's something that you have to point out. That's something that you always have to really counteract whenever people are putting misinformation and myths out there. And as I said earlier, she pioneered many of the things that we are doing here in the United States. Many progressive-minded district attorneys, progressive-minded prosecutors are implementing throughout the state. She pioneered a program which is titled Back on Track. And so back on Track allowed first-time drug offenders. So if you were caught with small amounts of marijuana or cocaine, you name it, whatever a small amount or possession was, or if you were deemed a drug dealer in San Francisco, this program would incentivize those individuals to get a high school diploma if they didn't have a high school diploma, or get them a job instead of prison time. So it would give them job skills so they can have gainful employment. And so this program was started in 2005. And this was when most prosecutors of that time were using tough on crime approaches. And so once again, I want you to keep that in your back pocket. Back on Track. It was a program to give people who were accused of first-time drug offenses an opportunity to get a high school diploma, or to get a job, or to get a job skills so they could get gainful employment. That's one program. Also, as Attorney General, she launched bias training for state police officers. That was well before its time. That was well before George Floyd, before it was a trend. And so once again, that's an opportunity for you to point out where she was a pioneer in criminal justice reform before it was thing. Also, she developed a plan, and this is one of my favorite ones that I hear all the time, Josh. It's about the truancy program. She created the truancy program.
She locked up mothers. She was locking up mothers.
She's locking up parents of children, elementary age kids who weren't going to school. Well, I'm going to tell you this, and this is in fact a fact. She never incarcerated anyone due to a truancy violation. No parent went to trial, went to court. No one had a jury trial and was sentenced to prison, sentenced to jail because their kid wasn't attending school. In fact, here's a real fact. Elementary school truancy fell by 33% once she created this truancy program. And this was to encourage parents to put their children in school because, as we all know, many of the children in these low-income areas, sometimes their first and only meal of the day is at school. Sometimes their first and only structure during the day is at school. Sometimes the safest part or the safest moment of their day is actually at school. And so under her leadership as a district attorney, and I want to point this out, as a district attorney, she was thinking outside the box to effectuate her community around her. That is her being a pioneer. So whenever you hear that fact about the truancy program and she was locking up parents for not sending their children to school, you need to stop right then and there and tell them it is in fact a fact that no one went to jail or prison because they didn't send their children to school, and that truancy fell by 33%. Also, you're going to hear that as Attorney General, she got $1.1 billion judgment against a for-profit college, right? They were misleading students. And so she was able to be leading in that as an attorney general. She secured an $18 billion.
And mind you, most of those for-profit schools, state attorney, who do they prey on? Who do they prey on? Low socioeconomic folks, black and brown folks.
Black and brown folk, people from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. She also secured an $18 billion settlement from banks who were exhibiting misconduct during foreclosure proceedings. So this is middle-class families that were affected by that housing bubble that happened in 2007, 2008, right? And so this shows that she's a well-rounded leader. She was well-rounded as a prosecutor. She was well-rounded as an attorney general. And this is another thing about the 3 strikes law. We all know about the 3 strikes law, right? You commit a third offense within a certain time of period, or if you have a 10-20 life, gun laws in respective states, prosecutors have discretion to pursue the maximum sentence. And so under law, if someone committed a third felony offense, they could go to prison for 25 years in California. And even if the third felony was a nonviolent crime, DA Harris at the time, she directed her office to only charge for a third strike if the felony offense was a serious or violent crime. That was actually groundbreaking, and that was pioneering at the time, because once again, at the time, when she was a DA in San Francisco, when you looked at the trend across the country, everyone had a tough on crime approach. And then so finally, I'm going to shut up because I really want to focus on this. This is the number one myth that you're going to hear. If you don't hear anything else, you're going to hear this myth, is that you've heard that she prosecuted minor drug offenses ruthlessly and that she disproportionately incarcerated people of color. So let's go to the numbers. She oversaw approximately 1,900, nearly 2,000 marijuana convictions as DA in San Francisco. The data was compiled by the California Attorney General's office while she was the DA, not when she was Attorney General, but while she was the district attorney in San Francisco. They found that under Harris, 24% of marijuana arrests led to convictions. So I want to really put that in context, right? When you look at the top 25 highly populated cities in the United States of America, San Francisco is always going to be in the top 20 every year, right? If population goes up, goes down, they're always going to be within the top 25 highly populated cities in the United States of America. So only 24% of those arrests led to convictions. When you compared that with other jurisdictions, they doubled or tripled that number, right? So that was only convictions, right? Conviction doesn't mean that someone was incarcerated, right? It means that they may have been put into the criminal justice system, but they didn't go to prison. And there's another fact that we'll go into that'll give you that exact number. But also under Harris, only 45 people went to state prison based on marijuana convictions, right? So let's break that down. 2,000 marijuana-related cases that she oversaw, and of the 2,000, only 45 went to prison. And of the 45, they were major drug traffickers, right? These weren't people that were walking on the side of the street. This even weren't dealers that was just selling small levels of marijuana or cannabis. These were big deals, right? These were people that you would classify as traffickers, right? And even in context, when you look at San Francisco, which was highly progressive at that time, even during a time of, tough on crime approaches, her predecessor, the district attorney before her, he sent nearly 150 people to state prison for marijuana convictions, and she only sent 45. And so, I'm sick of that myth. We have to dispel that myth. And finally, this is the last fact on that. She had a policy that no one with a marijuana conviction for mere possession could do any time in jail. That was actually a written policy that she had as a district attorney. They were able to find that. And there was a study done by the NAACP and the Drug Policy Alliance. And they found that when looking at the top 25 major cities in California from 2006 to 2008, during the time that she was district attorney, Black people were incarcerated for marijuana offenses at 4 to 12 times the rate of white people. That was only in that particular area. However, San Francisco has such low.
I'm right there with you, bro. I'm right there with you.
Getting close to bedtime.
Yeah.
but I'll make this final point. So you saw that like people that were incarcerated for marijuana offenses, there were 4 to 12 times the rate of white people to be convicted in the state of California. But when you look at San Francisco, they didn't even include San Francisco in that study for the state of California, because in that study, they said San Francisco, and I quote, had such low marijuana arrests in that city that they weren't even included in the study. And so the numbers that I gave you earlier, compared to this study that was done by the NAACP and Drug Policy Alliance, it shows you that this is just a myth that we're hearing. This is the myth that Republican Party that are putting out there. And unfortunately, this is a myth that is being spread within our own party and within our own ranks. And so I want to encourage each and every one of you, please utilize these stats, utilize these numbers, utilize this information, the terms, the phrases that I spoke about earlier. And if you have more questions, please reach out. I'll be more than happy to share this information with you. But when you're on social media, whenever you're around, it's important that even though you think it might be small, even though you might think it's just a comment on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, please take it upon yourself to reply to those ignorant, misinformation-laced statements. Reply to them with facts, with numbers, because you never know who's going to see that. Someone that's not an informed voter, and it could really change the course of this election. So please, let's work together to dispel these myths, and let's fight against this hate against Kamala Harris, and let's make her the next president of the United States. And I want to thank you, Josh, for allowing me the opportunity to share this information, brother.
Thank you, Mr. State Attorney. I know how it is. I got one sitting right here over here. I got the 2 other ones out there somewhere destroying something. So I'm right there with you, man. Thank you so much for bringing that. For everyone asking about where we're going to have these facts and we're going to post, we're going to send out a wrap-up email, and I will have a graphic in there that has these facts on there that you guys will be able to share on social media, send to people, text it out. I think as men, it's important that we have these conversations because, to be honest, it's only been men that have really been throwing out, oh, she's locked people up. She's locked people up. And I think that's what we will do that. So, Mr. State Attorney, thank you so much. Hang out for a little bit. Don't run away quick. We're almost done. As I mentioned, we're going to send a wrap-up email that will include some links to some of the speeches that Vice President Harris has given in the last couple of days, so you can keep feeling that energy. You can share it, spread it out. We're also going to make sure we attach some graphics in those emails for you to send out and share so that people just get information. What I need is for us to be soldiers in this state. All right. We cannot be afraid. We cannot be afraid to be who we are. We can't be afraid to, in this moment, in this historical moment, to stand up and say, this is the right direction for our country. This is the right direction for our state. So again, if you haven't had an opportunity to donate to the President Harris Victory Fund or Vice President Kamala Harris Victory Fund, the link is in the chat. Please give whatever you can to help out the efforts, because we got a short runway, and we need to have as much as we can to just get ads out there, get in those battleground states, get resources where they need to go to make sure we get the message out. So real quick, because I know we need to end soon. I promised most of you 30 minutes. We went a little bit longer, but I hope that you guys are, this has been good for you to be a part of, and maybe even a little therapeutic. As men, we don't often get together like we should. We don't often get to talk about real issues. So I hope this is something that's been important to you. My ask of all of you, I will be in Chicago for the DNC convention. And I know some of my other friends on here who may be delegates or chairs of parties or different things like that will be there. But on August 22nd, that night, that is nomination night, DNC convention. Vice President Harris will give her nomination acceptance speech, which is historic in its own right. She'll be the second woman to accept the nomination for President of the United States of America from one of our major parties, but she will also be the first Black woman. And I think in that moment, she will have the country's attention. And what I'm asking of all of you on that night, in your regions, in your areas, if you don't have, whatever your network is, if you want to have one at your house, have a nomination night watch party. I want you to follow the lead of Mayor Wayne Messam out of Miramar, who's already agreed to do a nomination night watch party in Miramar, in the city of Miramar. He couldn't make it today because they're doing a Jamaican diaspora event in Miramar, but he's already agreed to that. What I want on that night is for all all of us on this call, whether it's at our house or if it's in a regional area or somewhere, we need to have a nomination watch party that you are inviting the public to. And at this event, you're going to have voter registration set up, right? Or people to check their voter registration. You know, I want you to get with your county parties. I want you to get with community stakeholders to have information for people to walk away with, right? Invite people out. Let's keep up this enthusiasm. People are excited and we need to feed it. So on November, on August 22nd, that is a Thursday night. All right. It probably be around 8:30 ish, our time, maybe a little, an hour behind in Chicago. But we need to have a nomination night watch party in your area. Derek, you said, where will this be held at? I'm not sure where are you from, Derek? Drop in the chat. I'm going to still, even after this call, I'm still going to work with regional folks to make sure that we do some type of thing throughout this state at the same night and invite the public to it so that we could share in that moment together. Okay, so that's on, and this will be in the wrap-up email as well, but I want to put that out there. So start thinking about that. Anyone, anywhere, like, you know, if you got people, other elected officials who are like-minded, or for the elected officials in the room, like, join with them, and let's go ahead and do this. Again, this will be in the wrap-up email, but I'm also going to reach out as well. But I want you guys to start thinking about that on August 22nd. Thursday, August 22nd is nomination night, and I want you guys to do a watch party, invite the public, and we'll have more details about that. Also, something else to think about a little early. Shout out to Amari, who's on the call. He sent me this event that he's putting on in Homestead, Florida City, and it's something that we can replicate throughout the state, which is a voter rally, September 14th. I would love for us to have a voter rally throughout this state on the same day. September 14th. Again, we'll put that in the wrap-up email, but I want you to think about that, right? Whether it's you have regional artists that could come out, or music, or a field day, or bounce houses, or something, right? We have a short runway, but we want to make sure we are inviting the people and letting them feel this excitement. We have to be okay with being excited for this upcoming this presidential race. So that will be on September 14th. It'll be a voter rally. Again, there's a lot more information about that. And so I wanted to put those two things out there, but the most pressing one up front is the August 22nd nomination night watch party at the DNC convention. I'll be in Chicago, but I want to check in to make sure that we are doing this. And this could be our first test as the Florida Men For Kamala Harris to have these events throughout the thing, even if it's just you and a couple of friends at your house, because maybe you feel like your network's not that big. That's okay. Bring them to the house. Let's have those conversations. Even if you got friends that you know are on the fence or they're saying these or that, bring them. Tell them just come and have those conversations with them. With that, I want to let you all know the next call, and we'll send out this information again. The next call will be August 29th at 7:30. Thursday seem to be working out pretty well. Tell your friends when you get invited. Tell your friends when you get invited. When you get invited to this, share it, spread it out on your social networks. Let's go ahead and make this a movement, because this is something that we are going to have post this election, because I think it's important for what we're trying to do here in Florida. So everybody, thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you for coming back. If you were on the first call, I appreciate you. I enjoyed this. I needed this. I thank you so much. And we're going to do this again. So, Derek, we'll talk. I got you. You're in Margate. We're going to send out this information. Be on the lookout for your emails. Be on the lookout for those graphics for you to share. Let's be a movement. Let's be a unit together. And with that, have a good night, everybody.